Yes, everybody, welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or of course, if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me from the Smith Center in Chapel Hill, our very own publisher Andrew Jones. And Andrew, you just saw Carolina pick up the victory 72-53 over UNC Asheville. A lot to talk about. We're going to dive into it right now, as we always do on this one. And where I want to start with it is on the defensive side of the ball for Carolina. I thought it was improved tonight. I know it probably wasn't going to take much based on what we saw in the last game against Tennessee for it to be improved tonight, but UNC Asheville shooting just 26.5% from the floor, just 19% from three. UNC dominated the defensive glass in particular as well, out rebounding Asheville 38-14. So much improved. For me, it was better in spurts. I didn't think for the whole game Carolina was great defensively. I thought UNC Asheville missed a lot of open shots as well. They were a horrible shooting team tonight. And I think they came into the game as one of the worst shooting teams in the country anyway, in terms of what they've been able to do. So I thought it was improved, but for me, it was in spurts and not really a, full game, 40 minutes type of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's progress because they were really bad this weekend and they weren't great against Brown. They weren't great against Charleston. They did do some things better in the second half there, but clearly, and we were told this tonight by Armando, we were told this by Brady Manick in a very eloquent way.
Yeah,
and
watch
Hubert went into it. Yeah, and I would watch Hubert as well, because I actually asked Hubert about the points off turnovers that they're allowing, which is a pretty alarming rate. We'll hit on that in a minute. And he talked about it, but then went to defense because let's talk positives. Well,
yeah.
And I don't blame them, because they were bad defensively over the weekend. They got beaten up by the media. They got beaten up by fans, beaten up on social media. They know it. Brady Manick alluded to it big time. And there was a meeting of the mind, so to speak, yesterday. It was a point of emphasis with about 17 exclamation marks. And I do think the defensive effort early tonight was there. The help defense was there. Armando 3 times in the first 2 possessions, help defense right there. You can leave your guy. They don't want you leaving your guy all the time and totally, but you can leave him to help to stop somebody getting to the rim. And they did that. I thought that they defended the perimeter pretty well early, and they did. In fact, Caleb noted it, I believe. Armando noted it, and Hubert noted that there was a 7-possession stretch in which Asheville didn't score. And look, if people were expecting March 28th defense on November 23rd, especially after what we've seen the first 5 games, and you're fooling yourself, then you don't have a realistic outlook on how to watch a team develop over the course of a season. So what we saw tonight wasn't great all the time. You're right. Asheville missed a lot of wide open shots. If Asheville missed 50 shots tonight, but you must credit the other team. It's like in defense, bend but don't break, right? If you give up 385, if you give up 400 yards but hold a team 10 points, what's the stat that ultimately matters? It ultimately matters how many points a team scores. Carolina had given up 83 or more in each of the last 5 games and gave up 53 tonight. So they made major progress in that end. They're still not forcing turnovers, and they gave up 15 offensive rebounds tonight. But remember, there was 50 missed shots, so it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think that this is something to build off. Asheville's not a very good team, but this club needed to apply better energy, better communication, better help, better everything on the defensive end. And I think there was enough tonight that now they got 8 days till Michigan comes in. They can look at film and Hubert could say, see, and that's how you get better. So I think defensively for one game, they got better tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, baby steps in that direction, especially when you look at how they performed, like I said earlier, against Tennessee.
It's November. If you take baby steps on defense starting November 23rd, on March 23rd, which is 4 months away, you're going to be a pretty good defensive team, but you've got to consistently take those steps. So baby steps got to start somewhere, man. So they started it tonight. Let's see how this plays out over time. Yeah,
most definitely. It'll be interesting to see if they can continue to build off of it. Let's talk about turnovers, because that's obviously been an issue for Carolina. Actually came into the game tonight ranked number 306 nationally, have 340 teams in turnover margin. 18 tonight for the Tar Heels, led to 19 points for UNC Asheville off those turnovers. So Carolina still not taking care of the ball, very well. I know defense has been something we've harped on a lot. Turnovers is another consistent thing that we've harped on a lot. Like I said, for most of the season, it's just something that continues to follow the heels around. So for you, AJ, what were those issues again with those turnovers? Is it carelessness? Because I think that's what essentially is what Hubert alluded to in his interview.
Yeah, I mean, bad entries, bad cuts. They had trouble against the press at times tonight. They turned it over in the backcourt a few times. A couple times, some kickouts that end up in the stands. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up there. And what's interesting, in the last three opponents had scored a bunch of points, fast break points against Carolina, but tonight, Asheville wasn't scoring in transition, but they were still scoring after turnovers. So Carolina has to have good transition defense, transitioning from a bad moment and being strong on the other end. That's something that needs to improve. I'm not talking transition and fast break style, but 19 points. Each of the last four opponents has scored 19 points off turnovers. That's an issue. And Hubert said that a major point of emphasis, something they absolutely were going to fix and would not be a part of this team, is what was the case last year. They were last in the ACC in turnovers, worst team taking care of the ball, led to a lot of points. I mean, we articulated almost every game last year. It was sort of a running thing, and it's a thing now. So that can improve. That's something that can be fixed. They need to be more comfortable with each other, which will come with time. They need to read each other a little bit better, which will come from time, but they need to be less careless. That's what Hubert said. That's their problem. He said, guys need, I think you could talk about cohesiveness and all that kind of stuff, but you've just got to make the right play. You've got to connect yourself. And you have cohesion sometimes not because everything's just fluid and smooth and all that kind of stuff. You've got to make cohesion happen. You've got to make the tough pass and make it well. You've got to deliver an entry bounce pass to a place where the guy can catch it and do something with it immediately, not catch it, get his body situated, and then go up, because the defense has all month to recover and handle it. And Asheville blocked like 7 or 8 shots tonight. Yeah. That's all that stuff's in the lane. So do a better job of feeding guys, get those looks quicker. Armando had to herk and jerk a lot tonight because a lot of the entries didn't get to him in great spots to score. So this is just something this team needs to improve. It's been an issue for a few games now, so they have a lot of time to clean that up, but they got to get cleaning it up because they're 6 games in, which Hubert knows, hey, it's just 6 games, but you know what? There's only 24 or so left in the regular season. Yeah. We're going to very quickly be in conference play here in 12 days. With a trip to Georgia Tech. So you got to defend in Atlanta. You got to take care of the ball in Atlanta and do those things. You have a much, much better chance of starting out league play 1-0. So they've got a lot to fix all over the place. It isn't just defense.
Let's kind of stay on that for a second in terms of what this means for Carolina. Sitting at 4-2 after this win, week off before Michigan in Chapel Hill on December 1st. I mean, we saw some player frustrations. You alluded to it earlier. And like I said, Brady Manek's interview was very blunt. I think every Carolina fan should go watch it. I thought it was a good interview. It was an interesting interview. Made a lot of valid points, I think. And like I said, was just very blunt about what he was saying. So all that in mind, with that week off going and kind of the Thanksgiving break and a really tough opponent coming up next, what does this win mean for the Tar Heels?
Well, I like what Brady said because, this team can be very good. They've got a lot of terrific parts. And they should be a good defensive team. And they should be a less careless team with the ball. And they should be a high-scoring team. They just weren't very good on offense at times tonight. But they have to be good defensively to win because you're not going to be great on offense some nights. The defense has to step up and do it for you. You got to be strong on the boards. They had a plus 22 on the glass tonight. That's more in line of what North Carolina is in games like this. So they did that. But they've got to be honest about stuff. They can't just say, hey, we're going to be a great defensive team and then don't apply it or discuss some of the things that need to be done. So I thought, Armando, when he brought that up and I asked him a follow-up, what was it? And he detailed some of the things that they worked on. So, and we saw some improvement in that tonight. So I do like what Brady had to say. I think that this team should be upset with themselves over how they played this past weekend because they should be a lot better than that, and they weren't. But what did I tell you guys the other day? That's a great time of year to have a terrible weekend because you got a whole lot of time and a whole lot of opportunities to get that stuff cleaned up. It's a lot better than playing directional U 8 times, getting a false sense of security, and then suddenly you're entering into conference play, and then you find out where your warts are. Find them out now, go to the classroom, fix that stuff, and start humming. And they get an opportunity to test it next week against Michigan. Then they get a few, directional type games, and then they got UCLA coming up before Christmas. So they have opportunities to improve. They clearly know what must get better. So they've identified it. And they've only played 6 games, so there's a lot of games between now and when they dive it fully into ACC play in January, or actually late December, to get this stuff cleaned up. So what does this win mean? This win gives them an opportunity to feel a little bit better about themselves. They got a little bit of the taste of the weekend out of their mouths, and they applied some things that were learned and were a little better at it today. They got to get a lot better in those areas all across the board. But like I said earlier, I think they took a step forward tonight.
Yeah, agreed, AJ. Good stuff, man. Carolina getting the win over UNC Asheville, 72-53. AJ, I'm gonna let you run because I know they're waiting to turn the music back.
Kudos to these guys, man. They're letting me finish this video. They got their job to do as well. So let's run off and let these guys work.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. You know the drill. Keep it locked to TarIllustrated.com for all your post-game coverage from tonight. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that notification bell so you know every single time we upload. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.